This Demoralizing Young Adulthood Promise of Tomorrow by Vanessa Bush. My Life, My Story, Chapter 1, My Crazy Ex Story. I never been into any longer relationship than 3 months. I just moved into the USA at 20 years old and discovered Florida for the first time of my life. I started to check out clubs, and for Halloween I found that club called Out Limit. A cool type of music, people dancing in cages. I'm dancing my ass off. There's an hour left before they close. To my knowledge, this is way too early. I am not done dancing. I haven't got in a cage yet. I sat down on a stool off the dance floor, and a guy appears to be sitting facing me at approximately 5 inches afar from my face. He says to me, "How would you dance? You're super sexy. Mucho bueno. Let me buy you a drink." I said, "Okay, thanks. I'm Vanessa. I just moved from France. And this is actually my first nightclub tryout. In France, our nightclub closes at 5 a.m. and then we can find other nightclub from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we usually finish party at someone's house. Our night don't end for 3 days straight." He looks at me like I spoke Mandarin, because I am pretty sure he didn't not catch a word or meaning to anything I said. But to make it simpler for him, I changed into, "Hi, I am Vanessa. Thank you. What is your name?" He answered, "Isaias. I am from Guatemala." I barely speak English, but knowing that he spoke Spanish made it easier. I could speak French and he could understand a few similar meaning to the verbs. He barely hears me inside. I go back and dance. He holds my shoulders and follow me. I tried to avoid him, but he's always here. I come out of the bathroom. Here he is, holding a new drink for me. I gave up and spent more time with him. I could tell he was desperate for my attention. He begs me to follow him to his car, that I would be impressed. I said, "Okay, sure." I see a red Eclipse sports car, a pretty sharp-looking wheel. Not what I imagined he would be driving. I was like, "Wow, cool, nice ride." Anyway, I follow him to his place. He insists I meet his brother and have an OJ before I get home. I tried to say no and finally went inside, so he stopped asking. I know what you might be thinking. Don't go. That's how naive I was. He seems innocent, and his brother was very nice and quiet. He gave me a juice and we just sat down. I finally left and he asked my number. A few days later, he took me out, told me about his country, Guatemala, how he survived and how he grew up. I find out that he didn't know how to read or write because he went to school until he was 9 and they barely had teacher there to teach. It took him 10 years to speak English and he had been working long hours in boat manufacture ever since in America. I was impressed that he would work so hard so he could send out money to his family back there. And he had a dream to save enough money to buy his house there and one for his mother and open a jean t-shirt store with his brother. I was learning something new, something very different. From my culture, we started to date. I taught him tennis, swimming, we jogged together, we go bowling, restaurant, car wash, movies. Typical American routines. We enjoy the beach, he's teaching me how to cook tortillas and testing all of his country's flavors. I have even watching and listening to his music and captured a feel of it. After 3 weeks of dating, he insisted that leave my new apartment and move in with him to save money. Said I shouldn't be working anywhere because it's a man's job to be earning the money and I could just take care of his household. After wondering, I finally agree, knowing if something went wrong, I'll have money to get out. And I never lived with anyone in my entire life. So why not give it a try and see what it is like to live with a boyfriend? I just had my first apartment. And now this. So exciting! So here we are, happy and growing. We are all loving life and exploring new auras, experience. But I started to notice after 2 months that his was a little possessive and showing signs of jealousy. Like asking me why I was 3 minutes late after work, where did I eat my lunch. He started to look in my purse without asking and in my car to see if I didn't leave anything suspicious. Then weeks went on and he started to dig into my wallet and dresser and read all my receipts one by one. I thought that was very weird, but all I could do was to reassure him that he could trust me. Once we went dancing and he violently took my arms and said, "Let's go now." He said that I was flirting with everyone and that I was here and wanted to be screwed. We talked in a car and he yelled. That was the first real fight ever. And he showed me a side of him I never saw, a very angry, enraged person. After 5 months, the first real sign of his uncontrollable anger took place. I was living under his constant interrogation and he started to keep me home. answer my phone, keeping me away from my family, and forcing me to quit smoking and drinking a glass of wine once a week by hiding everything. Like hidden things everywhere, even my car keys sometimes. Once I spent an hour looking for my cigarettes and find them under the dresser while I was cleaning. The other time, I lifted up the mattress and saw 4 pictures of me in underwear. He took of me for fun and he hid them under the bed. We were sleeping on every night. Who knows how long he had them? I figure I was his little masterpiece treasure, and he wouldn't do anything with them. So I stayed quiet. He was 5 to 5 feet tall, worked out his arms for 40 minutes on his workbench every night, lifting over 150 pounds. But beside his arms, his legs looked like chicken legs. Mid-long hair, dark skin, nothing special about him. He walked a little bent from a former scoliosis and loved to boost his car speaker with his very loud rap music everywhere he went. He drove a huge red Hoover Dodge truck and liked to show off all the time. During car wash, laundry trips, any opportunities he may get, he would just sit in his car with the window open, boosting his speaker. I wanted a dog, so one day I bought one and he didn't want it. So he told me to hook me up on a tree. And I begged him to keep him, but at night he took the dog and made me come with him and put him in someone else's garden with his food and toys. I was devastated. Now I wanted it out. I had enough. So I needed to start to plan my escape and find a new place to live. During that week, he was being extremely romantic and always buy me flowers and chocolate, bought me a necklace for Saint Valentin, and I thought things were much better. We were laughing and cooking together. Once I came late because I went to the gym and I opened the door. He asked me where I was. I answered and he said, "Shut up." And he punches me and cross-punched one of my legs to make me fall. And I fell very harshly on the back of my head and couldn't move. I even felt like I was passing out. I stood up and ran to the bedroom and he pretended to cry for hours and begged me to forgive him and massage my back for hours while singing Hispanic romantic song of his love for me. I was in shock and my head hurt badly. Now, leaving the moment, I realized the gravity of the situation and should have sought medical attention immediately, and perhaps the fall on my head caused me brain injury that I am not aware of because I did not go to the hospital to make sure I didn't have any lesion. I had a torticollis and migraine for 2 weeks while working 6 days a week. He started to push me to cut my hours and insisted to drive me there so I'll save on gas. So now he was coming to my lunch break every day, spying on me in a parking lot, and of course checking in my bag daily was a normal routine for him. One day we were watching a funny movie and he went to the garden and never came back. After 20 minutes, I go outside to check, but no one is there, but his truck. It's very weird. I started searching for him in a bag and calling his name, thinking he walked to the store or maybe his brother picked him up. After 5 minutes, I realized, not here. I go take a bath and start practicing my dancing fitness in my bedroom. And after 1 hour, I see him coming out of the closet. I scream, "Ah!" He was laughing so hard. Then it was the bushes, this other closet, the garden house, etc. Once a week, he'll play that game. I imagine he hid as a little boy each time he did something bad, maybe hoping his parents will not find him. And that could have been why he acted this way. Maybe he was a 12 years old inside with a hard-working spirit of an older man and a life of a 40 years old at 24. Even now, I was aware of his intellect deficiency. I saw much quality in him, and his drive for succeed and helping his family was the most important things to him. I need to start escaping somehow, so little by little, day by day, I waited for that moment he wouldn't suspect me to leave, because he had always suspected and will block my car purposely. One day I did it. I took my suitcase, all my stuff. I had 10 minutes to be gone. I drove so fast, it wasn't funny. I went to my brother's apartment complex, but no one was there. So I waited in my car for an hour. I'm lying on my seat when suddenly I see him pulling up right next to my car like a car race chaser and jump in a passenger seat. Tell me he never smoked weed, but he had to when he couldn't find me and started to squeeze my arm. And I begged him to stop when I was about to get away. He chokes me. With him being stoned and his naturally aggressivity, I thought I was done. Never in my life I had been choked. My airways were blocked And if my brother roommate didn't show up at that moment and made him run away, I always wonder if he could have killed me. I cried and was too afraid to call the police. I spent a week there. Then I had to go to my parents. And a morning when my mother went to work, he came in their house with a bouquet of red roses and took a hammer to his head and said, "If you don't come with me, I'm gonna kill myself right now, right here." And he actually started to bang on his head. I didn't know what to do. My mum saw his car on her way out. She drove back very fast and opened the door and asked me, "Everything's okay here?" At this point, she had no idea of anything had been going on. Besides, he was my boyfriend and a sweet little Guatemalan guy. I was under fear. I said, "Yes, everything is good." Then she left and I followed him as he was pulling me by the hair to his car. Time went by and now we are at 9 months of the relationship. If I can call in that, this same weekend, he takes me out and proposed to me. I had to say no, but he kept trying, acting like everything was exactly the same. I knew I needed backup, serious backup. This time that I had to find the courage to tell someone. I hated drama. I had never dealt with the police before. I am 21 now. Remember, I grew up in a very peaceful country village with a lot of support and friends, with minor crime and a pretty good surrounding and a large safety net. And I was trying to keep the peace and being as discreet as much as I could. An evening, it was pouring rain, and I went to our laundry machine and I tried to come back inside, but the door is locked. I screamed and begged, but nothing. I'm soaking wet. I go in a garden house, and it's all dark, and there's spider web everywhere. The heavy rain went on for 2 hours. He left me out there. When I heard the rain stop, I tried to leave. He had put on a lock on the door and left me to sleep there all night. I was terrified. Never did I experience that before either. What a night. But the next day, he made everything better in his mind. And again, massaged my feet for hours and took me out was his way of making up to me. I started to wonder if I would ever be able to get out of this relationship at one point. Not only I was getting lonely, but I was getting distance, even with my closest brother. He had come a few times in her place for a drink, or before we would go shot some pool on weekend, and realized how jealous and control he was. He didn't like how I was keeping secrets all the time. I wouldn't tell anything to anyone. I was stuck in fear. Isaiah has told me how he was accused of dating a girl under 16 years old and had a misdemeanor crime in his criminal background, and always had begged me not to call the police because he will end up in prison. And I was too nice to want to lock him up. He played on the victim role, told me about a fat but pretty young blonde American girl who used him for child support, made a baby with him and ran away. He showed me a video of her sitting on a sofa eating chips. She did look like she was 16 years old, and he didn't have the right to see his son. I was feeling for him. He would hold on this baby picture in his wallet. He came with me at my family dinner, and everyone liked him. Bi-weekly, he would come and pretend everything is more than normal. The summer came and I had a girlfriend from France coming to visit. She wanted to do a trip to Miami, Mayaka, Orlando, Palm Beach, see it all. The boat, the jet attraction, etc. We planned a ton of stuff to do. We are going to do in these 3 weeks. He never smiled or said hello to her. He wouldn't let her be with me in a room, but made her stay on a sofa. After we came back from Miami, he never came back from work. His truck either. I figured he was playing a game once again. I let it go, but after 6 hours, I started to wonder. So I asked the brother, called his job, etc. None he saw him or heard of him. That started to sound real. Maybe something did happen. I went everywhere, drove my friend to every place he could have been, called everyone he knew. I even called the police station. Now it had been 48 hours, and he had been missing. I was in tears and figured maybe he killed himself of jealousy, knowing his insecurity for me, because I was ignoring him. I knew how much he hated my new girlfriend. No news, and we were going to the 3rd day. My friend was trying to comfort me, and she had to postpone her vacation to help me. We were miserable. I had to make a police report, and so on. Then when I got back from the police station, I saw his truck, and he was lying on a sofa with blood on his face and mark on his legs. He told me that he had been beaten up by a gang band by the river walk, and that they captured him and left him there in the middle of the night and stole his wallet and his phone in the process. I was so happy to see him. I thought he was dead, so I listened to every word he had to say, and even had to ignore